but yeah, the other rooms won't be able to.
Okay.
It'll only be the UConn person.
Okay. So Samantha can, okay. Samantha, are you good?
I'm good, and I'll record it now.
Oh, awesome. Thank you.
You just
All right.
guess it's recording.
We're good?
I'm good.
Good. Okay. So most of our staff do a terrific job of managing their classrooms. Like I'm really impressed with a lot of them and use some of the like a lot of the strategies that we've talked about, but there might be like a small number of staff who really have some significant difficulties with this. But I'm a teacher myself and I'm really struggling, you know, is this our role? I don't know if I feel comfortable telling my colleagues how to run their classrooms. Any advice about that?
That is challenging. A lot of teachers and other professionals in the schools don't feel comfortable. So I always think about what can we do to create that comfort level? You know, what can we do as a school community to really create a culture that's open to feedback? And I think a part of that is our visioning. And that started with what we did and what we would like to begin in school-wide PBIS. And then, you know, we think about those same components of school-wide PBIS, and really that when you get a certain amount of buy-in, that's probably when we're ready to start supporting individual classroom teachers and building our internal capacity to work with teachers and feel comfortable. And also the data around that will help to inform some of the professional development maybe that we need. And also then thinking of the systems piece, how can we support our teachers to feel more comfortable? And how can we get that feedback from them? So again, I think, you know, focusing on the main school-wide components are really critical. The instructional pieces and practices, and then really the idea of focusing on the clear, consistent expectations that we've decided upon as a team that we're trying out throughout the whole school community, taking those, beginning to feel more comfortable in what's working in your classroom and how you develop your own routines in the classroom. You know, think about how we correct and teach our students is really critical. So really just thinking about those universal preventative supports that we're providing, and then continuing to get the feedback of what staff really need. And I think that when they see that support, the buy-in will continue. And that's really when we can start to move to effective classroom practices. And one of the systems pieces that I think about this, and I think it's important to take back to the team and really work on with your action plan, what systems pieces can we use to support this? Are there ways that we can do screencasts? Are there opportunities for colleagues to share what's working in their classrooms that others maybe feel more comfortable in taking in? And then as those conversations begin to develop, we're really beginning to have a foundation of a culture that people are confident and comfortable sharing what's going well in their classroom and where they're struggling, and then how the school community can work together to really support each other to help establish routines maybe where someone is struggling. And focusing on, you know, those things that we really know that work well, like the ratio of 5-to-1 and the corrective feedback that positive corrective feedback that we're providing for our students. So more opportunities for folks to see that, to focus again foundationally on the relationship skills and what's working school-wide, and then to start to take that back as buy-in increases to individual classroom practices, as long as there's, you know, the mechanism to continually support that as a school.
Yeah.
Does that sort of get to some of what you're asking,
So,
Suzanne?
yeah, I mean, I see what you're saying, and I think we've made some good progress. And I understand like sort of shifting the culture and all the pieces that go with that will help support me in my role. But I guess for me, what I was trying to get at, and maybe I didn't explain very well, is there are a few, like, I think some of that tier 1 stuff is happening in the classroom that you described. Like, I think that we are starting to build on that. But what we're struggling with is some teachers who are resistant, and there's not a lot, there are not a ton of them. But I think, I think about what my role is and then how to help support them, but they have not kind of drunk the Kool-Aid, if you want to, so that's what I'm struggling with a little bit more. And I understand, I think all the pieces that you talked about will really help support them along the way. But I think like for right now, I'm just having a hard time with those couple of teachers.
Yeah, so one way to do that is to really focus, I think, on the champions and folks that are having some of the best practices, and to recognize, acknowledge that. Is there a type of acknowledgement system within the school that you can really celebrate and highlight practices that teachers are doing that are having outcomes for kids, really positive outcomes within the classrooms, and to really uplift those examples. I think maybe one way that could be beneficial in helping to get buy-in from those, folks that really are digging their heels in and feel like their classroom is their environment. And so maybe one way to do that is to really maybe work across grade levels, maybe in common planning time at a grade level. And that way you kind of take away some of that. When you have a full school having these conversations, there may be more ability for folks to naysay. But when you go into content specific and everybody's got their tasks and are really focused on their grade level or their content specific area, then when you start to share really positive examples of classroom practices that are going well, it's, I think, easier for buy-in to happen on the individual level at that point.
That's great. Thank you. That's helpful.
Very welcome.